If Will Levis doesn't play this weekend, I think it's fair to call it a silent benching. I'll explain why on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions do apply. We are going to preview the Tennessee Titans game against the Los Angeles Chargers on today's show. I'm going to give you my keys to victory. I'm going to give you my players to watch, and I'm going to give you my predictions for this game, including my score prediction, some betting predictions, some fantasy predictions as well. Before we get into all of it, I do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. And speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. I'm going to be going live immediately after the game ends here on the Locked On Titans podcast to break down all the action on Sunday. Of course, this is a 4:05 Eastern time game for the Titans, so we're going to be a little bit later in the afternoon, but I'll still be here to break it all down. Now, we always start these game plan episodes with my keys to victory, my big picture topics for the Tennessee Titans. And we have to start on the defensive side of the ball because the Tennessee Titans must stop the run against the Los Angeles Chargers. And look, I don't think that you need to be a genius to know that. You look at the Chargers' 3 losses on the year. Let's just go through this real quick. Let's look at the Chargers' 5 wins on the year. Here are their rushing yards totals on offense in their 5 wins. 176, 219, 128, 122, 96 against the Browns last week. The Browns had 3 turnovers, so that kind of evened things out. But, I mean, think about that. 176, 219, 128, 122. They are able to run the football with consistency when they win their games. And then you turn that around and you look at the losses for the Los Angeles Chargers. Here's their rushing yards totals in their 3 losses. 61, 55, 59. I mean, think about that. Literally more than half of the rushing yards that they average in their wins, in their losses. So if the Tennessee Titans do not stop the run first and foremost, then they're not going to have the opportunity to win this game against the Chargers. It's going to be a tough task anyway. The Titans are over a touchdown underdog in this game. This would be a massive upset for the Titans to win this game. But they give themselves a great opportunity to do so if they can stop the run. And of course, the Tennessee Titans have one of the best rushing defenses in the entire NFL. So, you know, we're going to talk more about the individual matchups that will determine whether or not the Tennessee Titans are able to stop the run here. Like, we're going to talk about that directly and who will need to be most involved for the Titans to do that. But at the end of the day, again, the Titans are a good rushing defense. They're number 11 in the NFL right now, letting up only 113 yards per game. And there are a few games in there where things are skewed a little bit, like that Green Bay Packers game. The Tennessee Titans have consistently been a good run defense, honestly, since Jeffery Simmons arrived. So it's a little bit of foreshadowing for you guys, but stopping the run is key. But now I do want to talk about Will Levis. And I'm going to talk about Will Levis a little bit more in a second. But key to victory number 2 after stopping the run is the quick passing game. Now, if you listen to yesterday's crossover episode with David Drogemeyer of Locked On Chargers, I talked about it. The Chargers play a ton of too high shell. What does that mean? That means they have 2 safeties back deep for most of the time. Now, it's always curious to know, will the Chargers adapt to what is best against the Titans, which would be 8-man boxes and bringing that safety down? Or will the Chargers do what the Chargers do and they play those two high safety looks? Here's the thing. If the Chargers do what they do and they play those two high safety looks against the Titans, well, that means there are going to be less people towards the line of scrimmage. And of course, you want to run the football. We all know that the Titans need to run the football to have success. But the quick passing game, there's going to be a lot more. Think, if you have two high safeties back deep, then that's going to be less people in the intermediate area, which means there's going to be more holes in their zone. And the Chargers are a heavy zone team. And the Titans have played some heavy man teams in recent weeks, teams that have played a ton of man coverage against the Tennessee Titans. This week, it's probably going to be the opposite of that. So what do you have to do to beat that zone coverage? You have to find holes in the zone, and you have to find them quick. And that is why it makes me wonder if Brian Callahan has his choice between Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph has certainly executed those quick timing passing plays a lot better than Will Levis has this year. Like, that is obviously something that Mason Rudolph is going to do better as a guy who's a more precise passer, as a guy who's a veteran in the NFL and has seen some of these looks more than Will Levis has. I think Mason Rudolph is a better fit for what the Titans need to beat the Los Angeles Chargers. And it makes you wonder if Brian Callahan comes out once again and says, oh, well, we're going to give Will another week, and then we're going to come back home to Tennessee next week, and he should be good to go. Is it really an injury thing at this point? It does make you wonder. Now I'm going to go into more detail as to why I am wondering whether this is a silent benching at this point if Will Levis doesn't play this weekend, because you look at some of the other quarterbacks that have had this injury, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But the reality is the reality, and that's Mason Rudolph is better suited to play against this defense with two high safeties and tons of zone coverage. Like, Mason Rudolph is the more precise passer. He gets the ball out of his hands quicker. Make no mistake, the Titans offensive line has only given up 2 sacks in the past 5 weeks. And a lot of that has to do with Mason Rudolph, because sacks are not just on the offensive line. It's a quarterback stat as well. So the Titans have to execute the quick timing passing game and hit those holes in the San Diego. It'll all be San Diego to me, man. Beat the holes in the Los Angeles Chargers zone. The last thing here is the red zone battle. So both of these defenses are good. All right. And I don't think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities in the red zone for the Titans or the Chargers. So in the few opportunities that you get to get into the red zone, you need to capitalize on that. You cannot be a team that doesn't capitalize on that. And neither of these teams are very good in the red zone. The Chargers are I think 22nd in the NFL in red zone offense, and that's converting red zone opportunities into touchdowns. The Titans are a couple of spots below them at 24th. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. 22nd for the Chargers, 52.6%, and then the Titans are at 24th at 52 flat. So whoever makes the most of their red zone opportunities in this one, I think is going to be the team that finds a way to get a victory. And for the Titans, you can't let your special teams ruin you to the point where you're giving extra red zone opportunities to the Los Angeles Chargers. But with that being said, we are going to zoom in, look at some of the players to watch in this game, and I'll talk more about why whoever plays quarterback needs to have a fantastic game for the Titans. Before we do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Arena Club. Sometimes, you want to buy some cards, all right, and it can be very, very difficult with the cost. Think if you're buying a Patrick Mahomes, rookie card, or a Ellie De La Cruz rookie card, or a Luka Doncic rookie card. It could be, $2,000, and who has that kind of money to drop? Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card that I just listed hit in last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value and a complete view of all possible cards and clear hit rates for each one. Arena Club slab packs are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pools are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for 10% off your first purchase. Today's episode is also brought to you by Hims. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatment that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatments. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Prices vary based on product and subscription plan. Titans fans, let's continue today's game plan edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about my keys to victory overall as a team for the Titans: stop the run, operate in the quick passing game, and also win in the red zone battle. But now I want to zoom in, talk about some of the individual players that I'm really watching for in this game. Before I do, thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. But looking at some players to watch in this game, I talked about Will Levis and the possibility of a silent benching going on. And I want to kind of dive into that more because one of my players to watch, the number one player to watch in this game, is Will Levis. If he plays in this game, if he finally returns. And even if it's not Will Levis, if it's Mason Rudolph, again, with the quick timing passing game being so paramount in this matchup, the quarterback is going to have to operate with high efficiency and high precision. And at the end of the day, I do want to mention this. So I went to do some research on this, and it was tough to find exact research, but I did find that as of 2018, over the past decade of quarterbacks having AC sprains, okay? The injury typically took 10 days. That was the timeline for quarterbacks coming back from an AC sprain. 10 days. From 2008 to 2018. 10 days. It was like 10.2 days was the average return time for an AC sprain. Now, I recognize that Will Levis played against the Indianapolis Colts, and there's a re-aggravation. You can't call it re-injury because it's just pain management at that point, but, more pain. And the thing is from the Miami Dolphins game when the AC sprain happened, the Titans had a bye. It was Monday Night Football, but the Titans had a bye. And then they played the Colts. It was more than 10 days, and Levis still not ready. Well, now it's been, it'll be a month since Will Levis played. And an injury that averages 10 days. Now, Kyler Murray had an AC sprain in recent years. Didn't miss a single game. Patrick Mahomes had an AC sprain at one point. I forget the exact quarterback's name. It might have been Jared Goff. But they missed 2 weeks with an AC sprain. A month. Even with the quote-unquote re-aggravation against the Indianapolis Colts, which is not how the injury works. It's not like a hamstring where you re-aggravate it. It just gets sore again, and you're like, oh, I need it to not be sore. But it's been a month, folks, for an AC sprain. And Will Levis is a guy who has been known to play through pain. So you have to wonder if it's one of two things. Is this a silent benching where Brian Callahan is saying, hey, you may be ready to come back and the pain may have subdued quite a bit, but, we're going to give him one more week. We're going to give him one more week to be sure. Or Will Levis did say last week that the coaching staff said it was up to him, which I don't know if I fully believe that, but let's assume that that's true. Is Will Levis being gun shy? Is his confidence rocked to the point where he just doesn't want to go out there and play? Just staying out of the limelight, not taking the criticism every week, not being a meme every week? Is Will Levis saying, oh, I could play, but I don't want to? At some point, considering the typical return time for this injury, we have to wonder what's really going on. So, silent benching, Will Levis being gun shy. If he doesn't play this week, we have to consider both those as the only realities here. So, I just wanted to put that out there. It seems logical at this point. In my opinion, it's hard for me to accept, oh, he's just not ready to play because of the injury. Like, that just doesn't make any sense based on other time frames and timelines of people. Like, this injury is just not something that takes a month to recover from. It's not. So, very interesting there. But again, whether Will comes back, whether Mason plays, whoever plays at quarterback has to operate with high precision against zone coverage in the intermediate areas. Like, that is just going to be necessary with the zone coverage and the two high shells that you're going to see from the San Diego. I did it again. They're always San Diego to me, the Los Angeles Chargers. But anyways, moving right along. The second player to watch for me is Calvin Ridley, because Calvin Ridley is a guy who has the ability to catch those short passes and turn it into something. So the Titans really, really, really have to find a way to get Calvin Ridley the ball. And watching through the tape of last week's game, the Titans finally threw a quick bubble screen to Calvin Ridley. They've been throwing those to Tyler Boyd all season long. And I get it. Tyler Boyd is a guy who runs with physicality. If it's a third and short, fourth and short situation, you throw it out to Tyler Boyd. He's more likely to just kind of barrel through some guys and get the yardage that you need. But on these, early downs, let's get some quick passes going to Calvin Ridley with two safeties back deep and the limited amount of defensive backs that are going to be in the intermediate area. I really want to see the Tennessee Titans get the ball to Calvin Ridley at the line of scrimmage on some of these screens and let him use his speed to get into the defense and cut him up. Like, I think that's going to be absolutely necessary. So you may not hit Calvin Ridley down the field as much this week because of the two high safety looks that you're going to get, but hit him short and let him run and let him move and get yards after catch. That's what the Titans need to do there. And then finally, Jeffery Simmons. And I say Jeffery Simmons, but really overall, I mean the entire defensive line. Jeffery Simmons, T'Vondre Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day. And it's for multiple reasons. Number one, in the run game. We talked about why it's so important that the Titans stop the run. We've already talked about that. It's obvious that the Titans' defensive line with Simmons, Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day, the Chargers love to run a ton of heavy tight end stuff. They run 12 and 13 personnel at a higher rate than basically any other team in the NFL. They are going to run heavy personnel on offense. The Titans are going to have to use their interior three defensive linemen to keep the offensive line of the Chargers off their linebackers, Jack Gibbons and Kenneth Murray. Let those linebackers run free and make plays. You're going to stop the run. It starts up front. And also, the Chargers' pass blocking has not been fantastic this year. It has simply not been fantastic. And you look at where they're most vulnerable, and that's the interior trio of Bradley Bozeman at center, Trey Pipkins at guard, and Zion Johnson, the former first-round pick, who has not been very good this year. And you look at Chargers fans, they're talking about benching him or replacing him next year because he struggled so much. All three of those guys in a true pass set, like just dropping back to pass, they all have a 40 or below grade from Pro Football Focus in pass blocking. Zion Johnson has allowed 20 pressures and 3 sacks. Trey Pipkins, 13 pressures, 4 sacks. Bradley Bozeman, 11 pressures, 2 sacks. The Titans must get interior pressure on Justin Herbert, and the Titans' interior defensive line, which is the strength of their defense, has to dominate this game if the Titans are going to win. But I'm going to do my predictions. What do I think the score is going to be? What about the gambling aspect? What about some fantasy advice? We're going to talk about that to cap off today's show. Before we get into it, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you aren't looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, they might not have the time or resources to hire. That's why 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action in the second half of the season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. And speaking of live bets, betting on some punts in this game, probably going to be a lucrative way to go about it. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, go on FanDuel. You can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more on the same exact page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, a little game plan episode for you guys. We talked about my keys to victory for the team. We talked about my players to watch in this game. Now I want to get into some of my predictions for this game. I'm going to do my score. I'm going to do some fantasy, some gambling stuff for you guys. Before I get into it, thanks again for making Locked On Titans your first listen. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL. I'm the lead host of Locked On NFL. You get your Titans news here with me in under 30 minutes. Get your NFL news with me in under 30 minutes, Monday through Friday for free. Locked On NFL. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But, guys, I have to tell you, I think this is a terrible matchup for the Tennessee Titans. And one of the craziest things about it is, I said it on yesterday's podcast, the Tennessee Titans have never beaten the Chargers on the road. Ever. It's never happened since the team moved to Tennessee. Not once. Why? Why is that? It's crazy. Well, Brian Callahan was asked about this in his press conference on Wednesday, and he said that, the Chargers had a lot of good teams during that time, the Phillip Rivers teams, LaDainian Tomlinson's career. The Chargers have had good football teams. So that obviously makes a difference. But also the travel has to matter. Traveling all the way across the country, playing at a different time than now. It should help the Titans that they're playing at 4:00 over there, which, is going to feel more normal to them. But it's still, 3 hours later than their bodies are used to playing. But it does give them more time to sleep in and stuff like that. But it's just a tough matchup. The Chargers are a physical team. They have a great special teams unit. They have a really good defense. I just think it's going to be a tough situation for the Titans. I really do. So, I know that it was, some of you don't think so, but I know it was cool to see the Titans get a win. But as I said after the game last weekend, I don't think that the Titans winning against the Patriots in overtime means that they're all of a sudden going to be more competitive. The Titans are not a good football team. And now Lloyd Cushenberry is out. Quandre Diggs is out. The Titans did sign Mike Edwards, something on Twitter that I was calling for on Tuesday that the Titans actually did on Wednesday. I like that move. You get a veteran safety in here who's been a starter for most of his career, still only 28 years old. I like those moves, but I just think the Chargers are a better coach football team. They have more talent overall. I don't see the Titans being competitive in this game, and I think they're really, really going to struggle to score the football. So I have the Tennessee Titans losing this game 20-6. I really think the Titans are going to struggle to move the football in this game. I think the Chargers aren't going to have a great day on offense either, in my opinion, but I think there will certainly be special teams plays that set the Titans up to lose in this game. So I think the Titans lose 20-6 is going to be my prediction for this one. Moving away from score predictions, and if you're watching on YouTube, let me know your score predictions down below. But moving away from just purely game score, I do want to talk about the gambling aspect of this game. And right now, the Tennessee Titans are 7.5-point underdogs. I'm taking the Chargers minus 7.5. The line for this one, in my opinion, would have to be 2 touchdowns for me to be scared of it. If it were 10.5, I would still hit it. I would still take it. Again, I think the Titans are really going to struggle to score in this one. I think it's going to be quite a task for them. So I'm taking the Chargers minus 7.5 in this one. And you look at the over-under, it's 38.5. Now, that's very, very low. Make no mistake about it. That's a very low total. But again, both of these defenses are really good. Even if the Chargers win by a ton, I don't think that it goes over 38.5. So I'm playing the Chargers minus 7.5. I'm playing the under 38.5. I like both of those in this game. Now, as for my beautiful dark twisted fantasy player of the game, last week I said the Titans defense, and hey, 3 turnovers. You know what I mean? Got some sacks. It was a good day for the Titans defense from a fantasy perspective. In this one, I have a hard time picking anybody with what I think the Titans are going to do on defense. I think in your season long, if you have Calvin Ridley, you play Calvin Ridley. But I don't know if I feel great about that. Especially because the Chargers can put so much attention on Calvin Ridley at this point. Great defensive coaching staff led by Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator there. I think Chigakonkwo might be a guy that is a good play for you if you're in a deep league and you need a waiver wire tight end. If you're playing daily fantasy football and you want to, have a cheap option at tight end so you can stack the top of your lineup with expensive guys, I think Chigakonkwo could be an option. I think the Titans are going to have to utilize some quick tight end screens and some underneath stuff. And again, a tight end sitting down in between 2 linebackers with the zone coverages that the Chargers are going to run. I think that Chigakonkwo could have, 4 catches, 45 yards, something like that. And that may not be a gangbusters day by any means, but if you're really stacking out a daily fantasy lineup, I think that can make some sense as well. So overall, just not very confident in the Titans from a fantasy perspective this week, but Chigakonkwo would be my best option, I guess. So that's my keys to victory. That's my players to watch. That's my predictions for this game. Again, I'm going to be going live immediately after the game ends on Sunday to break down all the action, and I'll have that podcast up as soon as possible for all my audio folks as well. But that is going to do it for me today, folks. Thumbs up on the video, tighten up down in the chat. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.